As we get set to honor our nation's veterans tomorrow, a new book is examining the struggle for racial and gender equality within the U.S. Armed Forces. The book, titled The Armed Forces and American Social Change, An Unwritten Truce, was written by retired Army veteran Lieutenant Colonel Troy Mosley. He joins us now on the floor. Colonel Mosley, thank you so much for your time and for your service. Maybe you could tell our audience what your 20-year experience in the Armed Forces was like.
Sure. Military service is a very rich and rewarding experience. Mine very much in keeping with that tradition. For the first time in my life, I had an opportunity to meet people from all walks of life, from all different parts of the country, big cities, rural areas, suburbia like myself. I grew up in suburbia, East Coast, West Coast, Midwest. But the thing that galvanized us and brought us together was a belief in something bigger than ourselves and something that makes America the envy of the world, which is a system of governance that is predicated on equality. And through the military lens, we all experienced that. We knew who the best marksman was. We knew who the best navigator was, who could do the most push-ups. And everybody rallied around that person for support and help in those areas. And in that regard, the military really has the bones to be one of our nation's leading meritocracies, because what I experience, and I think what the military has found over time, is that it is a person's willingness to serve and their competence to serve that is paramount over any other characteristics.
And it's those values we'd hope would be reflected in our society as a whole. It doesn't always work out that way. Now, as a nation, we express a lot of military pride, but unless you have served, you don't really understand what that experience is. So what inspired you to tell this story and tell people what it's all about?
Yeah, great question. So what compelled me to share my story is it started personally as a family story. My father was a Vietnam-era veteran who joined the services in the late 60s, did 2 tours of Vietnam, and he didn't retire. He got out in the mid-70s and became a businessman in our local community in Jacksonville, Florida, kind of a sister naval community to San Diego. But I always knew, but not for my father's education and his service in the military, many of the opportunities that were afforded to my sister and I growing up would not have been possible. My father grew up in a rural community as a tenant farmer, which is about 1 or 2 generations removed from slavery. Mm-hmm. And I knew that his military service and his education was a game-changing experience. It changed the entire trajectory of my family. And I knew that I wasn't the only person whose life was positively impacted by military service. In many ways, this is America's story, as so many of our communities and families have had a positive experience or a boost in our quality of life that was brought upon through military service. And so I wanted to share that with everyone.
And Colonel Mosley, there's a lot of opportunity, a lot of growth that's done things for you and your life that may not have been possible, but the experience isn't perfect, and there are still things that need to be worked out in the military, aren't there?
Absolutely, without question. One of the things that I talk about are the remaining challenges for the military and for our nation at large to close the gap between what we profess to be, a society based on equality, and our lived experiences. For the military, I think right now their foremost challenge is protecting service members from sexual assault and sexual harassment. Unfortunately, our armed services have struggled mightily with this issue throughout time, most poignantly in the last probably 20 years of persistent conflict in Iraq and Afghanistan. And we have lost thousands of service members, women in particular, because we have not protected them well enough from people who prey upon those either abusing their authority or preying upon someone who's in a vulnerable position. And we must do better as an armed forces in that regard.
Colonel Mosley, I'm almost out of time, but I want to get to this. Are there big changes you think that could be made immediately to help out our veterans and those in the military?
I think one of the biggest changes is that pride goeth before a fall, and the military needs to let go of the adjudication of sexual assault and sexual harassment cases within the chain of command to a dispassionate judicial authority, because we quite simply haven't done justice in this area. And we understand the importance to exercise command and control over the troops. But with this one particular area, I think it's probably better suited for a dispassionate third party.
All right. Thank you for your service. And I think the best way that people can do that is maybe buy this book and read it and gain new insight. Retired Lieutenant Colonel Troy Mosley, the book is The Armed Forces and American Social Change, an Unwritten Truce. Thank you for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And CBS is a longtime partner of the annual Warrior Foundation Give-a-thon, which helps send ill and injured veterans home for the holidays. This year's Give-a-thon is Friday, November 19th from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. For more information, go to warriorfoundation.org/give-a-thon.